I had a very interesting conversation with a gay man a number of years ago, and what he said during that conversation left me with a feeling that he gets it. He gets it. And this is very rare when you're having a conversation between two people with very different ideologies. What I find quite often, particularly with those on the left, is that they're the first to promote tolerance, but they are often the most intolerant people. Their definition of tolerance isn't that we can exchange ideas, agree to disagree, and respect one another. It's that if you don't agree with me, then you are an intolerant bigot. Yet they're perfectly happy to disagree with what I have to say. There's a real hypocrisy there. So what I find when preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ to people and living out the gospel is that, first of all, I'm not going to compromise on what I say. I'm going to speak the truth, and I'm going to do it in love. I can't control how someone reacts to what I say. I'm not responsible for how someone reacts to what I say, but I am responsible for delivering the message in love. And one thing that I've found is that when we do it in love, as the Bible says, we are to be salt, we are to be light. We give a person the greatest opportunity to not only hear the gospel message, but to see the love of God, the love of Jesus Christ. And this is what can transform people. Oftentimes people have these preconceived ideas in their minds of what a Christian is, of what the gospel is. And one of the hardest things is actually overcoming that hurdle. So I'm going to tell you a story. I actually worked with a man who was gay. This was a number of years ago, and he was working in the office here in Adelaide, and I was in Sydney for training. And he found out that I was coming to the organisation, and apparently I found out later on that he was very worried that I was coming. He was apprehensive because he knew that I was a Christian, and he was worried about the way that I would treat him. So eventually I came back to the Adelaide office, I met him, and we worked together for maybe about 9 months or so. It would have been after about 6 or 9 months that we actually had a conversation that I will never forget. He said to me, "Matt, I have to tell you that when I first found out that you were coming to work here, I was apprehensive because I know that you're a Christian, I know that what you believe, I know that you disagree with what I believe, and I was worried about how you might treat me. But having worked with you all this time, you've shown me nothing but love, and you've treated me just like everyone else. And I really respect that. And if I was going to have a faith like anybody's, I would want to have a faith like yours." And this conversation was really impactful for me. Not because I'm any good or because I got a compliment, but because it showed me that he got to see the gospel lived out. He got to see a Christian that was treating him in a way that was very different to how he thought he was going to be treated. And this could maybe make him more receptive to hearing the words that I had to say because he knows that I care about him and I was showing the love of God. He also said to me, if you want to have a beer sometime, I would have had a tea myself, but he said, if you want to have a beer, have a drink, we can sit down and discuss Christianity, homosexuality, creation, evolution, all of those things. And it was just really great. We respected one another despite our differences, and this is how it should be. Some people will say, well, Jesus never spoke on homosexuality, but this just isn't true. First of all, Jesus is the God of the Bible. He's the God who created morality. He's the God who brought judgment at Sodom and Gomorrah. He said that none of the law will pass away. He fulfilled the law. The moral law doesn't change. And he also said, he quoted Genesis very clearly saying that God created the man and woman, and that a man and woman would be united together in marriage. Very clear. And his followers, those who were with him and those who knew what he taught, preached very clearly on this particular topic. So it's completely wrong to say Jesus never spoke on this issue. We can know 100%, and the Bible's very clear on this. We should never feel pressure to hold back the preaching of the truth, of telling people truth in love because of the way they might receive it. As I said, we're not responsible for how they receive it. We're only responsible for what we say to them. And some people will respect us, like this man in this example. If we live this out with love, other people will just hate us anyway because they hate the message and they hate the God that whose message this is. But everyone's allowed to have their own views, aren't they? Everyone is allowed to have their own views. But there's something that often happens at times when people preach the gospel message. And I'm not going to be ashamed of what I believe, because it's not my message, it's the message of Jesus Christ. It's his truth, it's his eternal truth that doesn't change. When everything is changing in society around us, in culture, it never changes, it remains true all the time. And Jesus Christ is the one who's reliable to tell us the truth. He fulfilled many prophecies, he claimed to be God in the flesh, he backed it up by his death on the cross and his historical resurrection from the dead. And if there's anyone who has the authority, the credentials, the reliability to answer the big questions of life, including morality, it's Jesus Christ. But as I said, when we encounter people that disagree on this, we should never hold back from preaching the truth, but we should do it in love, with compassion. And there will be people, like I said, who hate us anyway, but then there will be some people who do respect us because they can see that we love them, and maybe we can enter into a dialogue. And there are many people who have actually come out of that particular lifestyle and come to Christ because they heard the gospel message. And ultimately, it is the power of the gospel message that saves. I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is a power of salvation for all who believe. Romans 1:16. Would love to get your thoughts. Have you had any stories yourself, any interactions like this? Leave them in the comments below. Talk to you soon. God bless you.